Welcome to today's full body Yogalates flow. We are going to strengthen, stabilize, and mobilize the entire body through mindful movements and a connection to the breath and the present moment. So when you're ready, we'll get started on our shins in diamond pose, coming into a seated cat-cow. If this is uncomfortable, you're more than welcome to cross the legs or find another seated variation of your choice. Exhaling, curling and round, chin to chest. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Once more. And from here we'll take a spinal twist, twisting to the right, placing the left palm, the left hand on the outer edge of that right thigh, maybe gazing behind you. Inhale, re-extend, and this time twist to the left. A slight activation of the core muscles here. Softening the face, the shoulders. Inhale, return to center and come into a tabletop position. Wrists are in line with shoulders, knees are in line with hips. Inhale, raise the right arm. Exhale, thread the needle and re-extend. Coming into an abdominal crunch. Really grounding down through that left palm. Cinching the waist, drawing the navel to the spine. And we'll take this on the other side. Inhale, raise the left arm. Exhale, curl and twist. And again. Doing your best to keep the pelvis and the hips squared. And from here, pushing up into downward facing dog. Feeling a beautiful stretch along the entire back body. Perhaps pedaling out the dog once or twice. And from here, we'll float the heels up off the mat, raise the right leg, lower it down, inhale, lift, exhale, lower, just like this, keeping those hip bones squared to the mat, keeping the toes pointed, really activating the glutes and the hamstrings at the top and lowering down with control. Imagining as though you are flowing through molasses, creating that resistance to help turn on the muscles, to help you stay mindful. Really activating the quadriceps here to help you straighten behind the knee. A few more lifts. Returning to downward dog, reconnecting with the breath. And we'll take this on the left hand side, this time grounding down through the ball of the foot and the toes on the right hand side, and raising and lowering that left leg. Doing your best to keep the arms extended, really grounding down through the index fingers and the thumbs. Mindful breaths, keeping that abdomen engaged, a slight tuck of the chin. Gaze is towards that right foot. One more lift and we'll meet in downward facing dog. Well done. Rolling forward into a plank pose, lowering down onto your forearms into a dolphin plank. Gluing the belly button to the spine, keeping everything active, and lowering onto the knees, child's pose. Well done. Giving yourself permission to soften. Offering yourself one more breath in child's pose. Working your way upright to a tabletop position, lowering down onto the forearms, elbows are underneath shoulders. Step back into plank pose, core is engaged, and we'll begin to raise and lower that right leg. The foot is pointed, hips are squared. Doing your best to keep the right leg straight. Noticing if the hips are hiking up towards the sky, seeing if you can lower them whilst keeping the abdomen switched on. 2 more lifts on this side. We'll meet in dolphin plank. and prepare to set up for the other side, raising and lowering that left leg with control. Noticing what's going on around the face, the neck, the shoulders. Is it possible to soften into these regions? Perhaps inviting a smile onto the lips. One more lift. Plank pose. And lower the knees. Well done, child's pose. One more breath in child's pose. Coming up to a tabletop position. Lowering down onto the forearms, elbows are underneath shoulders, and we'll take a bit of an active recovery here, grounding down through the left knee, extending the right leg back, keeping the toes pointed, and we'll lift and lower that leg. Same movement that we've been doing. And we want to lift the leg to a height where we're not compromising the form of our lower back. So keeping that core engaged will help you find that medium. Noticing if the hips start splaying to one side, seeing if you can find that even distribution of weight between that tripod foundation. One more lift. Lower down with control, and we'll take this on the other side, lifting and lowering that left leg. One more lift. Lower down, child's pose. And from here, we'll come up into a seated position. Lower the sits bones down onto the mat, bend the knees, soles of the feet are on the mat, knees are hip width distance apart. Exhale, curl and round. Inhale, spinal extension. Exhale, round, and again. Once more. And from here, we'll set up for a reverse tabletop. So palms are underneath shoulders. You might like to play around with the positioning of your hands, maybe fingertips out to the side, behind you, or towards the torso. Knees are bent, grounding down through the feet. We're going to raise the hips, extend the arms, seeing if you can get a line between the knees, the hips, and the shoulders. And we'll begin to lower and lift the pelvis, keeping the arms straight here. Squeezing the glutes at the top, lowering with control, and lifting right back up. Doing your best to keep the knees in line with the hips. Notice if they splay out to the side or knock towards one another, and seeing if you can correct that alignment. A few more lifts. Keep the legs up and pulse. How high can you raise the pelvis? Really turning on the abdomen here so we're not puffing up the belly, the ribs are soft. Keep the hips up and hold. Breathe. And release. Well done. We'll come into those seated cat-cows again. Twice more. Either staying with the variation that we just performed, or you might like to join us in a reverse plank, Purvottanasana. This time raising the hips, extending the arms, and walking the legs out one at a time. If you have the mobility, keeping the toes grounded, or you might like to keep the feet flexed, grounding down through the heels. A few breaths in this posture. And lower down, well done. From here, bending the knees, scooting forwards on the mat, and we'll come down to lie on our back. So if you have any hair accessories in, it might be nice to remove those. Knees are bent, heels are underneath the knees, feeling your connection to the mat, to the breath. From here, we'll come into a bridge, raising the pelvis, the hips, the lower back, the mid-back, squeezing the glutes at the top and lowering with control. A few more times, moving at your own pace, engaging the inner thighs here. And we'll keep the hips up and place our palms underneath the sacral region of our spine. Bend the right knee into the chest, extend the right leg, point, flex the foot. We'll keep it pointed. Keep the pelvis aligned, breathe. Bend the knee, return the foot to the mat, and we'll take this on the other side, raising the left leg. Flex, point, keep the leg elevated. And gently bend the knee, return the foot to the earth, keeping the hips as they are. We'll interlace our fingers together behind the back, finding a beautiful heart opener, and we'll take this again, this time with a bind. Seeing if you can keep that pelvis elevated. Gently bend the right knee, return the right foot to the earth, left knee to the chest, extend the leg. Gently release the bind and lower the pelvis down, well done. Walking the feet out to the edge of the mat, allowing the knees to rest against one another, placing one palm on the belly, the other on the heart space. Connecting to the breath. And you might like to stay here or draw the knees to the chest, perhaps coming into an Under Balasana, happy baby. You might like to play around with extending one leg at a time, finding a beautiful stretch for the hamstrings, the groin, maybe both legs together. Returning the knees to the chest, we'll take a supine pigeon pose, crossing one foot over the opposite thigh. One more breath. Gently release, and we'll take a seated pigeon on the other side. Breathe. Returning both feet to the earth, and we'll take a few spinal rolls to come up into a seated position. Roll the shoulders back, close the eyes, inhale, extend the arms overhead, join the palms together. Exhale, lower the palms to heart center. Reconnecting with the breath. Recognizing your efforts for showing up here today. Thank you all so much for joining this practice. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.